Hello. Today I'll be explaining why Troy Black is a false prophet, and I'll also be explaining how other ways to minimize the biases associated with prophets and how to identify the true prophets. So, starting right now.
Hey y'all, this is Troy Black. So I have another prophetic message to share about Russia, the Ukraine. This one actually has to do with the European Union. Try to give you a heads up. Some of the things I'm about to share are going to be a little ambiguous. So just know that sometimes prophecy is a little bit, it's shared in pictures. Sometimes the Lord speaks through imagery, things that we're not necessarily going to fully understand until after the fact, after they occur. And
Yeah, and so the only way to verify these prophecies or visions is to wait for these prophecies to come true. That's the only way to verify these prophecies from prophets. So if they don't come true, um, they're a false prophet. And we don't know when, there's not a specific time that these prophecies will happen. All we need to do is just wait to see if it will happen. Usually they take years or decades or longer, unfortunately. Um, but that's the only way to verify whether or not someone is a prophet. You just have to wait and see. And he'll go into this about visions that he's receiving from God. So there has to be a way to minimize the biases associated with visions. So one of the ways to minimize that is to ask them, are the visions that you're receiving, can you recreate that vision in your mind after you received it? Most likely the answer is yes. Therefore, it's a bias. The visions that they receive, they should not be able to recreate it in their mind. That's because when God gives the prophet a vision, it's unique. It's something that they cannot recreate in their mind. So, and then another way is to draw out what you saw in the vision. Draw it out as accurate as you possibly can after you receive the vision, so everyone will see exactly what you saw. The visions that you receive will most likely be, if they're true, they'll be exactly what you saw. And I'm pretty sure that God will honor this if you are a true prophet, that what you drew, or if you know something that you can take a picture of at that specific angle is from God, then do that. So everyone else will know exactly what you saw. So that's one of the ways to minimize bias of these visions. So these visions have to be something from God that you cannot recreate in your mind because it's a huge push in your mind from God. And so, and again, draw it out and make sure everyone else sees it so we can wait and see if that happens. These prophecies from the Bible, they're significant events. Um, they're not minor. But he does talk about Russia and Ukraine, so these are significant events.
sometimes the Lord follows up on it and elaborates on it. So I'm going to wait and see if that's going to happen as well. But I'm going to go ahead and be obedient and share these things. And I'm going to share that one last. But I'm going to start with March 1st. I saw a vision while I was praying. It was a vision of a sperm whale and a dolphin. And I got this impression that the dolphin represented the Ukraine and the sperm whale represented the European Union. And then I heard the Holy Spirit say, swimming closer to a larger object for protection, but it won't work. Efforts fruitless. And then I heard the larger animal is just as deadly. Very interesting. The larger animal is just as deadly.
How do you know that's from God or it's your own voice in your head? So there has to be a difference between your voice and the voice of God. And there has to be a way to verify that voice is from the voice of God. Um, but there is no way to verify this because it sounds like it's one and the same. None of the prophets talk about this. That has to be a way to differentiate between the voice in your head and God, uh, giving you whatever message he's giving you. And also, those messages have to line up with the Bible. He will use words from the Bible when he gives the message to the prophet. And most of these false prophets, they don't do that. These words that they're getting, they don't line up with the Bible. They don't line up with like the NIV or King James or any other translation of the Bible. There has to be a way to minimize these biases. And I'm pretty sure if God exists, that he would agree that we need to minimize these biases in terms of prophecy.
Probably is a reference to, in this case, the dolphin is swimming away from another animal, which I believe would be Russia, and I believe the European Union is being represented by that sperm whale. So I looked up sperm whales.
When they say "I believe," that's a red flag. Yeah, and the prophets in the Bible, they never explain how they received these revelations. How did they reduce the biases? How do they know it's from God? They never explain this, and it's unfortunate. But I can prove that God is the God of the Bible from cover to cover. I can prove that he's against sin. I talked about this before, how he's against sin. He'll push the sins in the mind, and it will be uncomfortable from God. That's what we label as guilty conscience, but the guilty conscience is God pushing the sins in the mind. So that's God.
And just a few things I found were that they have the biggest sized brain among all animals. I thought that was interesting. And then also that they're mostly friendly creatures. Divers can actually swim next to danger, click their of a diver, but it can actually cause paralysis in someone. Important thing here, saw a vision, and then I saw it open, and out of it, I could see inside of it was a Star Trek comic book.
Okay,
Star Trek comic book
that's a red
inside the
flag.
saddlebag. And then I heard the phrase dystopian hopes dashed in a triumphant measure.
Star Trek.
The phrase dystopian hopes dashed in a triumphant saddlebag.
Is that right? Did I hear that right?
Star Trek comic book.
Yeah, that's a red flag. Why would God reference Star Trek? What God will do is reference the Bible or concepts from the Bible. Why would he reference some other source that's not related to Christianity? That's a red flag.
You have a king character who's the most important piece in chess, and you have a queen who's the most powerful piece in chess.
So God will talk about death and destruction that he will send to people who are continuing in sin, who are misleading the flock. He's not the God of love, Jesus. He's against sin. He's the God of the Bible from cover to cover. I have sufficiently proven this, that it's all leading up to the Bible, that he's against sin and how he responds back without referring to any religious textbook. So, yeah, so obviously this is not
about the pawn, which is the least powerful piece, moving straight across the board to the end to a piece to its promotion square. So if it gets all the way across the board to the final square.
How do you know the difference between your vision that you can create on your own in your mind and the vision from God? I guarantee it's one and the same. So obviously it's a bias. So one of the ways to minimize biases in terms of visions is if a prophet gets a vision, you need to draw it out or you need to take a picture of it if you know exactly what's going to happen, so that everyone will see, so that you have that modified date on that picture. And once it happens, you can show the picture, you can show the modified date that it happened. Yes, it happened 6 months ago or 3 years ago, 6 years. You have it on the modified date on that picture, and it's exactly what you're showing the flock. Yes, I have it. This is what I saw, and it's happening right now. These visions that you'll receive will happen exactly what you saw. So He's not doing this. That's what visions are from God. So
it can be queened and become a queen and become a powerful piece, which can help help you win the game.
prophets need to fulfill both roles. They need to fulfill the role of being a pastor and being a prophet. You need to tell your flock to stop continuing in sin. You need to do this. I've not seen Troy Black do this. It's very important that prophets do this. And that's another red flag from Troy Black, unfortunately.
Read part of chapter 1 that the Lord gave me too. Okay.
Hello. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll come out with more videos about what true prophecy is and how to identify false prophets. I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe and like my videos. That helps me a lot. And yes, I'll come out with more videos. And thank you.